expect from Google to use AI to help them win against Amazon and Microsoft. And that was in 2017. For the last 2 years, 17 and 18, we've been helping them win against AWS by identifying AWS budget cycles, so Google can start intercepting them, and you can start seeing some significant improvements here in terms of the market share.
Sorry, two quick questions. One is, where does the application pick up the data from? And second is, how frequently does the data get updated?
Yeah, so we are picking data from all public sources at this time, and some research analyst reports, which are not always public but purchased data. But most of the data here is coming from public sources. Some of the budgetary numbers, you can start aligning them to SEC reports and places where executives have explicitly talked about initiatives with specific budgets. And we have used some of that data for training purposes. And for the rest of the private companies and other projects in places where there is no explicit mention of budgetary data, that is all derived through AI. And so in terms of the sources, I mean, the sources are pretty much everything that the company is pumping out, right? So what happened in the last 20 years after Google came and SEO happened is companies are now putting more and more content out there just for survival. That is a huge difference in the last 20 years. And what we are doing is we're feeding off of that data. So any piece of data that a company puts out, anything on their website, any press releases, any executive statements, any meetup presentations, YouTube videos, Twitter feeds, job boards, you can name everything. All of that we are consuming right now.
Okay.
But the IP that we have is, how do you convert that information into dollar figures that are relevant, right? Yeah. And how do you convert that into these topics? And we are adding more topics. The topics are, in this case, cloud. And I think for us, in the interest of time, we'll jump straight to Salesforce automation. I also want to talk about account-based marketing, because what happens is, this is a live example I can show you, because we consume this account-based marketing. And there are 3 different types of reports that you can see under account-based marketing. You can see upcoming opportunities, new starts, and current.
Just a quick question. You also integrate with ABM platforms, yeah?
Not yet. We do not integrate with ABM platforms yet, but we do have one of the ABM companies, Quanzu, which is consuming the reports for ABM campaigns today. So they're doing that, and we consume it ourselves too. We don't have an ABM platform, but we dump the results straight to LinkedIn ads, and we do the ads on LinkedIn. Okay, so here's what we have. We have the current, which shows, say, who are the major players in the market, what is the market share, how much budgets do you think, how much money they made. This is 1 year, the last 1 year, and the growth rates are year over year with respect to last year. So we see that Engager is doing pretty well, whereas demand base is not doing that great. DNB is not going to for ABM sector, right? And you can go into very specific companies and see what's going on with that particular company. Okay, and we'll see more of these details in Salesforce automation, which is more relevant. Where I wanted to quickly go here is I want to show you new starts, and under new starts, you will see these are all the projects that just started in the last 3 months, or since 3 months till October 31st. And you can see that September, Benefit Focus is a company started a new project in September out of Charleston, right? And it has several executives that have been recommended. So if you go here, you will see some of the executives here. And usually by default, we don't have head, but if I had, head of marketing also included, and you can say this is straightforward LinkedIn. So James Stratton is head of marketing benefit focus, right? So what I did was I cold emailed James and said, I actually messaged him and I sent him the screenshot here. Where is that? I think it's loading. Just a second. So I sent him a cold email and asked him if that number was correct. When we did that, he did confirm he did confirm that number was accurate. Okay. The idea here is that you can see which companies have just started new projects, what vendor they have started, and most of the times you will see their internal projects. They haven't yet locked into a vendor, and that's what we call as green shoots. And you can basically engage those executives, or you can actually create a company set and create an audience on LinkedIn and start putting ads on that, right? So you can engage that way as well, or directly engage, like we directly engage with these executives, right? So that is one way to do it. So now let's switch gears and go to the topic that's probably more relevant to you, which is Salesforce automation. Mm-hmm. And this is a much bigger market. It is about a $15 billion market, with Salesforce, of course, being the big one with about 14 billion. At $17 billion market, that's what we think. Salesforce has 14 billion, growing at 6.7. HubSpot is doing pretty good. It's growing fast, but it's a small market. And then you have all these other players here, right? So what we have another 15 minutes. So I'll just hit on the main ones, and we can go into how you could potentially use this. Now, there are workloads. Workloads are, what are they using it for, right? So, okay, you got Salesforce automation. What do you want to use it for? Mostly account management, opportunity management, lead, contact, campaign, price books, relationship. So these are just high-level ones. We can modify and add more here.
Can I sort basis industry and so on?
Yeah, I know your question was industry. We don't have industry yet, but we can take a look at a couple of banks for now by company name, and then later we will be adding industry within the next actually this quarter Q1 we'll be adding industry, so you can sort by industries. Is there any specific bank that you want to see? JP Morgan, Chase,
Capital One or something of that sort.
Yeah, Capital One is also a big one. Capital One, about $8 million we think is going on there. So they have Salesforce CRM, probably spending $7 million, and then some other internal stuff going on there. Then Richmond, Virginia is where majority of action is. And then you can see the rest of the locations. They have teams, client development, legal department, store, engagement, banking, sales. So these are all the teams, right? And then they're using it for lead management, account management. So you get some general idea about what's going on in this account, in this view, right? So like that, you can check another account, like say JP Morgan, Chase, and you get a similar sense in terms of, yeah, they're also Salesforce, and there is some activity here around Sugar CRM, but it has died out. So they used to have some Sugar CRM in some divisions and Microsoft CRM, but that's also gone. So it's primarily Salesforce now, and you can see the cycles here. It peaks towards January, February. So what is that? Let's see. No, that's September. That's a September peak. Let's see what's coming in Jan. So you can see some cyclical behavior here. So that probably coincides with the budget cycle there for Salesforce, but you get an idea that it's about a $14 million spend there. These are the teams there, right? And New York is where majority spend is, and then Plano is probably the second best location. And they're using opportunity management is one area. And within locations, you can see Plano is going down, but New York is increasing. And of course, JP Morgan is New York, so most likely decisions are happening in New York. And usage also is happening significant in New York. So these are some ways to look at it. This report. Now you can switch and look for upcoming opportunities, which is the renewal report, and do the same thing, which is let me go and look for the Capital One, and then here you see that Capital One, you will see there are some renewals that are coming up, and these are the different teams, locations, time frames, Q1, Q3. This is when the renewals are coming up. So if you want to say, hey, show me the renewals that are coming up in Q1, then you will know which teams, locations we think the renewals are coming up, and which team is growing really strong. So this one is definitely, this renewal is going to happen because they have completely invested, significantly invested. This one is kind of neutral. The others we don't know much, or probably they're like new implementations or something like that. Now it is possible that they're all under the same contract, but this gives some opportunities for you to get your foot in the door if you see any negative numbers here, right? So maybe we'll switch and see JP Morgan. If there is a negative number, that means the usage is dropping, and if the usage is dropping, that typically gives you an idea of maybe figuring out, for example, if this is minus 51% Plano, Texas, we know there was some usage going down in Plano, Texas. So it could be one or two things: either the team size is getting reduced, or two, they're not finding use and they're looking for something else, right? So both of those could be going on. So you need to go Plano, Texas. So here's how you would do: you go to execs, and that will take you to LinkedIn for the execs at JP Morgan in Plano, and from there you need to further fine tune the titles that are most relevant to you. So we said VP of Sales, so you probably need to filter this and say, here add. I removed sales, but if you say sales and sales, then hopefully we'll get some VP of National Accounts, and you see these are 6 people here: head of sales, VP. So these are the people that should be engaged to understand, what's going on with Salesforce, why the usage is going down in Plano, Texas. Is there a genuine concern? Is there a limitation? Is there an opportunity for you to play?
Okay. Hey, this is pretty interesting. So is there some way I can kind of take a dump of this data or something? I mean, I can obviously export this data, right, onto an Excel sheet, then upload it onto Salesforce or something of that sort.
Not right now, but we can talk about it. So we do it only for our enterprise contract customers, but not for the individual licenses. So for the individual licenses, right now it is just you use it, and then you can go to LinkedIn and you can copy paste from here, but it's like one at a time. To get the full data dump, we do it once we have an annual contract with a company, then we allow them to take the download.
Okay.
The one thing I do want to mention is the lowest hanging fruit would be these new starts. And when you go under new starts and say, who are the people who do not have a vendor yet, right? We don't think there is any vendor. So there are about $100 million worth of opportunities out there. And then we are adding an industry tab here, right? So you can select the specific industry and pick the companies that are of relevance to you. And then you will see that they don't have any vendors. So those becomes what we call as green shoots. So they started something recently in Salesforce automation, but they don't have Salesforce yet, right? They don't have any other vendors yet, and that's a good place. So this is where most of the startups that we work with, and even bigger companies, they are finding significant value. Is who in the last 3 months started something, but they haven't decided on a vendor yet, right? So this is like step one. And then upcoming opportunities is like start displacing competitors at step 2, and then this gives the full picture, right? So that's how they go about it.